So what happens when your entire professional life, decades of work, just gets deleted with a single click? Well, this isn't some hypothetical. Just 2 days ago, a professor took that exact question to the California Supreme Court. He filed an urgent plea, not against a person, but against one of the biggest tech giants in the world. And he opens with this, a pretty stark warning from Dr. Mohamed Fayad. Right out of the gate, you can see he's framing this as something much bigger than a simple technical problem. He believes the very tools we built for sharing knowledge are now being used as weapons to suppress it. So, here's the core of it. We have a former professor from San Jose State University, and get this, he's representing himself. It's a real David versus Goliath situation. And the charge he's leveling against Google is incredibly serious. We're not just talking about an account being closed. No, he's alleging a deliberate and, in his words, systematic digital erasure of his entire professional life. Okay, so what does he want? You're probably thinking money, right? A huge financial settlement. But he makes it really clear that's not his main goal. For him, this plea is a testimony to truth. It's his effort to document what he calls a human and academic tragedy, so that, hopefully, it never happens to anyone else. All right, this brings us to the absolute heart of his argument, a concept he calls the digital siege. So what does that even mean? What does a digital siege actually look like? Well, he argues it's basically a war fought on a whole bunch of different fronts. Let's break down exactly what he's talking about. Yeah, this was a term he came up with himself, and it's pretty powerful. For him, a digital siege isn't just one platform blocking him. No, he's claiming it's a coordinated, quote, digital collusion, and it has one ultimate goal: to completely isolate him, cut him off from the world, and block the truth he's trying to share. And when he says siege, he means it. He claims this is nothing short of a 9-front war. It's not just one thing. It's everything from obstructing documents he says prove corruption, to a complete information blackout of his work, to financial sabotage, and even the alleged theft of his income. He's really painting a picture of a total all-out assault. But these aren't just technical terms on a legal document. They have a real, profound human cost. So what does it actually mean for a person, for a scholar, to have their entire digital legacy just erased? It all boils down to this number. This is what's at the heart of his loss: 48 years. 48 years of research, innovation, and academic work. Gone. He argues that, in the 21st century, closing his digital accounts is the modern version of book burning. It's the deliberate burning of manuscripts, an irreversible destruction of an entire lifetime's work. And then he uses another phrase that is, well, it's incredibly strong and, frankly, pretty shocking. To describe the impact of this, he doesn't just call it unfair. He calls it a form of moral genocide. And this quote right here explains exactly what he means by that. For a professor today, if you are cut off from publishing, from your academic email, from that whole digital world, you're basically rendered civilly dead. In your own professional community, you just cease to exist. So, okay, the stakes are obviously incredibly high, but what are the actual legal grounds here? He's not just making an emotional appeal. He's building a case based on the Constitution. Let's take a look at the arguments. At its core, his whole argument really comes down to two basic constitutional rights. First, you've got the First Amendment. He claims this is all about restricting his speech to silence him. And second, there's due process. He argues his entire digital existence was, in his words, executed, with no warning, no hearing, and absolutely no chance to defend himself. You can just feel the desperation in this question from his plea. He feels like he's been trapped in the lower courts, that his case has just been ignored. So now he's going straight to the highest court in the state, basically screaming, "Why is nobody listening?" So what does he actually want the court to do about all this? Well, this final section of his plea lays out his specific demands for what he considers justice. He has 3 very clear requests. First, he wants a massive judicial investigation into the role that big tech companies play in what he calls character assassination. Second, and this is the urgent one, he needs an order to restore all of his accounts in that 48-year archive right away. And third, he's asking the court to review all his evidence, which he calls the map of the siege. And he closes with this. It's a really powerful statement. He's framing this not as some personal sob story, but but as a fundamental demand for the law to do its job, which is to protect regular people from the massive power of these corporations. At the end of the day, this professor's plea raises a question that goes way beyond his one case. It kind of forces all of us to think about it. In an age where our careers, our legacies, our actual voices live on private servers, who gets to be the final judge of our digital existence? It's a huge question, and this case puts it right on the table.